Okay, to make the boiled fruit cake, we start off with the margarine. We put in the brown sugar. You can use any type of brown sugar, soft light brown sugar or the dark brown, which I've got there. The fruit. You can use any combination, sultanas, raisins, currants, cherries and nuts if you're going to put them in. You don't have to. And on top of that we pour the water. 1 teaspoon of bicarb. And 2 teaspoons of mixed spice. We're going to heat that, stirring until it gets to boiling point. When the mixture starts to bubble, just turn the heat down a little bit and allow it to simmer gently for about 3 minutes. When the mixture's been simmering for 3 minutes, turn off the heat and leave the mixture to cool. And whilst that's happening, we can get the tin ready, get the tin lined and get the other ingredients weighed and mixed. Okay, so this mixture is enough for an 8-inch round or a 7-inch square tin. And it's important that we line it because the fruit burns very easily when it's touching the actual tin itself. And you want at least a double thickness. I tend to put actually 2 lots of double thickness, so 4 layers around the sides so that the sides don't burn. So for the base, to make the circle, you could put the tin on and draw around it, but a really easy way to make a circle is to get more or less a square of paper, fold it in half, and this, as you can see, is already double thickness. Fold it in half again so it's in quarters. Fold then through the central point diagonally twice so that you get sort of fan shape. And then if you just roughly measure where the point would be and mark with your thumb the edge of the tin, we can just cut. And then you've only got the short way to cut rather than cutting all around the circle. And hopefully that should come out about the right size. Okay, to do the sides of the tin, you need to cut a piece of greaseproof long enough to go the whole way around. And fold it in half lengthways. And then fold it in half again, so we've got the 4 layers. And then if you just fold a small edge up at the bottom, just sort of half a centimetre, 1/4 of an inch, that helps it to just sit on the base of the tin. And just unfold it again slightly and cut some diagonal slits which help it to bend around the tin properly. Then we need to grease the tin to make the paper stick to the sides properly. Do it quite generously. And we're going to put the side paper in first. Making sure it's pushed well back around the tin, and just put a little bit of margarine on the edge, and then we've got our circle that we made earlier, double circle, which just sits in the centre, and that's your tin ready. Okay, once the mixture's cooled, we can get the other ingredients ready. We need to sieve the flour. And with that we want a pinch of salt and a teaspoon of baking powder. You also need 2 eggs, just beaten lightly. We're going to add these to our fruit mixture, which is now cooled slightly. Now, what I find best is to add half the flour first, which will just cool it a little bit more before we put the eggs in. If it's still hot when you put the eggs in, we could end up with scrambled egg, which is not nice in the middle of a fruit cake. So mix half the flour in. And the eggs. And then the remaining flour mixture. And that's how it should look. We can then pour it straight into our prepared tin. Just pour it into the centre of the tin, it should just find its own level. And by leaving the greaseproof on the sides of the tin higher than the edge, standing a couple of inches proud there, that will help support it if the cake rises a bit higher than the tin itself. Just give that a little shake, that just finds its own level quite nicely. Okay, so your cake's now ready to put in the oven, so it's preheated at 160. And that's going to be in there for about an hour and a half, but I'm going to check it after an hour. If it looks a little bit brown on the top, I can put a piece of greaseproof paper or a piece of foil over it for the remainder of the cooking time, just so it doesn't get too dark. Okay, this cake's now been in an hour and a half. I did check it after an hour, it looked fine, as in it wasn't too brown. So first I just press it lightly with my finger, and if it springs back up, that's a good sign. And then I'm going to test it with a skewer to check that the cake is cooked properly. I always use the skewer at the side first. If it isn't cooked there, I'm not going to stick the skewer in the middle, but that's fine. So check it in the centre. And we've got a clean skewer, which means the cake's cooked. Now it needs to cool in the tin completely. That's going to take several hours, so it's probably going to be there till tomorrow overnight, which is fine. So if we just leave it covered, and we'll come back to that tomorrow. Okay, so the following day, when your cake's completely cooled in the tin, we can take it out of its tin. And then if you want to, you can add some brandy or sherry or your favourite liqueur. And the best way to do this is to just make some little holes with a skewer around the cake. Do more around the edge of the cake and just a few in the centre, because the centre is usually fairly moist in comparison to the edge. Okay, and then just a couple of tablespoons of the liqueur or spirit poured around the cake. And if you like, you can repeat this process in a week's time, and then even give it a third dose of spirit if you wish. To store the cake, I'm going to wrap it in some foil, just loosely. And then I'm going to put this in a cardboard box, or you could use a tin, but not a plastic tub with a tight fitting lid, because that can cause the cake to sweat, and then you've got the danger of mould. So it'd be quite happy in there, and we can just get it down when we need to add any more liqueur until it's time to use it.